Thank you, Matthew.
All right, Philippe, that will finish up our time allotted for the individual speaker Q&A. And I want to thank you again. And we're going to go on to quote unquote unscheduled element to our panel. And give everybody a little bit of a background beforehand. And that is, as we've heard from all the excellent presenters, if you will, for a bit of a tawdry explanation on my part, is a simile is each one is looking at this environment of UAP through their specific wavelength in the spectrum. And when we had planning meetings relative to this special session, I proposed a challenge to the group to think about, well, each one of you are going to make great presentations, which you have. But at the end of the day, where do we go forward from here? And I threw this question to the group, and to their immense credit, they decided to get together and come up with what they would think would be a few conclusion charts going forward. In other words, where do we go from here to present to this audience? So as a bit of a bonus, if you will, we're going to review those charts, and it's my understanding that Ryan Graves has been selected as the spokesperson for the group to give you their combined assessment of where do we go from here. So let me go ahead and get those up. And Ryan, if you would, I'll turn it over to you, please.
Yeah, hey, thank you. As I said, these recommendations were compiled by the entire group. And, the idea here is that, we're trying to get some core messages across that I think are probably, not going to be a surprise, but what needs to happen here isn't something where, we can look to you and tell you what needs to be done. This is going to require a lot of different specialties, from tactical aviation to physics. And so, we need everyone's help on this, and we need to do it in a way that is transparent, because at the end of the day, like I said, very pragmatically, we're flying around objects out there that, hundreds of miles an hour with, people's families on board. And it's just a matter of time, frankly. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. But anyways, with no further ado, next slide, please. All right, so one of the, I think the biggest takeaways here, and I'm going to just read it right off. The D&I report indicates that some UAP are real objects. Scientifically studying them should not be stigmatized. Recommend additional sessions introduced with key science aerospace meetings. So I'm even hesitant to ask people or to state that this shouldn't be stigmatized. For me, it's a silly conversation because I know for a fact that this is still happening. There's still aviators that are briefing this as a safety consideration every single flight they go on. No TAMs have been filed. And this is all the very pragmatic, everyday air-to-air, or excuse me, air safety considerations. When we consider potential tactical considerations, that's another whole conversation. But this needs to be resolved, and we need all hands on deck. We also believe that formation of a panel of experts from different disciplines are going to be required to identify needed data collection methodologies and instruments. So we understand that there might not be inherent expertise in this anywhere, whether that's on the UAP task force or elsewhere. So we recommend that a scientific and engineering panel is established and is coordinated in the various subjects with some leadership in order to talk to lawmakers and provide their opinion on things such as potential R&D opportunities or paths forward. Additionally, we believe that historical data availability is crucial. We recommend an established routine availability of unclassified sensor data on UAP for peer-reviewed scientific analysis. So I think we all would like to see a reality where this is a problem that everyone is working on, and that when a conclusion is drawn, it is done so in a peer-reviewed manner for scientific analysis, not just in the United States, but worldwide. So we would think that we would want that data out, and we would want that as the gold standard of evidence. Next slide, please. Just kind of get into a couple other points that we thought were important. The panel of experts, the civilian scientist panel, we believe that their responsibilities would lay with curating unclassified data for public consumption and understanding. So the expectation is this group would be clear, just like any other group from a defense contractor, into programs at the appropriate level or collections at the appropriate level in order to consume data. And if there is unclassified data that can be shared, then they would be responsible for ensuring that was communicated to the public effectively. Additionally, they would be representing the public's interest to ensure any potential scientific discoveries were available for peer review, including the data. They'd be responsible for advising the government of UAP R&D based on the data that is available and the direction that is agreed upon by both the government and civilian groups. Again, this will consist of scientists, engineers, subject matter experts in the relevant fields. I don't think there's a couple specialties that would sum everything up here, so I think there's going to be a pretty wide group of specialties that are going to be required in order to answer the questions that need to be answered in a timely manner. And I imagine that list of specialties is going to change over time as we learn more about what's going on here. Next slide, please. Civilian safety focus. The fact that we're talking about SIGMA still in a time when people are having mid-airs, or correction, near misses, is disturbing. So we need to make sure that the military is already underway in this process, but we need to ensure that civilian aircrew feel comfortable submitting aviation safety reports related to UAP without fear of retribution, by creating a standardized FAA UAP reporting protocol that is pushed out and that aircrew are trained to in order to ensure that we are receiving accurate data from the civilian aviation community. The civilian scientist panel would be available for data analysis as well as further coordination with the FAA for radar analysis, for debriefs from aircrew, and any other data that could be gathered. And I'll pause here, Ed. That is it for our recommendations, and I'm sure there'll be more conversation to follow. Thank you.